I was driving home for the fall break during my senior year of college. The air was cold enough to sting when you rolled the window down, and the sky had that washed-out gray look that only happens in late October. I'd left campus later than I meant to, around 6 p.m., which meant I'd be driving the back roads through farmland in the dark. My parents lived about 4 hours away, and I'd driven that route dozens of times, but that night, I decided to try a shortcut that a classmate had told me about earlier in the week. "It cuts off like 30 minutes, he'd said. "Just take County Road 9 past the gas station and you'll hit Route 42 eventually." It sounded simple enough. About 40 minutes in, I reached the sign for County Road 9. It was a narrow 2-lane road lined with dead cornstalks and bare trees. I turned onto it, my headlights slicing through the dark like twin spears. For a while it was peaceful. No cars, just the rhythmic sound of my tires and the hum of the engine. The only light came from the occasional porch bulb glowing faintly in the distance. I remember passing an old mailbox with the name Hollis on it, the paint chipped and faded, and thinking it was probably one of those family farms that had been around forever. The road started to twist a bit after that, and the trees grew thicker. I slowed down, noticing fog beginning to settle near the ditches. A few leaves blew across the windshield, illuminated orange and gold before vanishing into darkness. After maybe 20 minutes, I realized I hadn't seen a single sign or intersection. No mile markers either, just that same dark stretch of road. Then I noticed something odd, a small bridge ahead. It looked old, with rusted guardrails and wooden planks that creaked under my tires as I crossed. As soon as I passed over it, I saw a road sign on the right, Route 42, 10 miles. Relieved, I pressed the gas a bit more. 10 miles wasn't far. But after driving for another 10-15 minutes, the sign appeared again. Same place, same angle, same words. I slowed the car down, confused. I looked behind me, nothing but fog. I hadn't turned or looped anywhere. The road was straight, but there was no way I should have passed that sign twice. At first, I told myself it was just a coincidence. Maybe there were 2 identical signs. Rural areas reused materials all the time. I kept going. 5 minutes later, I passed the Hollis mailbox I'd seen near the start. Same dent, same red flag. That's when I stopped the car. I put it in park and stepped out. The cold air hit me immediately, sharp and damp. The world was completely silent. No crickets, no wind, not even the distant hum of power lines. Just stillness. I turned off the headlights to see if I could spot any light from nearby houses, but there was nothing, just a black wall of trees. When I turned the headlights back on, something made me freeze. There was someone standing at the far edge of the road. They were maybe 40 feet away, half hidden by the fog. Their figure was just barely visible, tall, thin, wearing what looked like a coat or jacket. They weren't moving, just standing there, facing my car. I shouted out, "Hey, you okay?" No answer. They didn't move, didn't even twitch. I waited, then got back in the car, locking the doors. When I looked up again, the figure was gone. That was all it took. I slammed the car into drive and sped down the road, heart pounding. I kept the high beams on, scanning for anything ahead. After maybe 10 minutes, the road curved again, and I saw the same bridge. Same rusted rails, same creaking boards, and on the right, that same sign, Route 42, 10 miles. I nearly screamed. I stopped the car in the middle of the bridge and looked at my phone. No signal. I checked the GPS. The map was frozen, showing my blue location dot spinning in place. It was like the world had stopped moving. I backed up and tried turning around. The tires crunched over gravel, and I started heading the opposite way. For a few minutes, it felt like progress. The road stretched straight and endless. Then, on the right side, I saw the Hollis mailbox again. I slammed the brakes so hard that my seatbelt cut into my shoulder. When I looked closer, something was different this time. The mailbox flag wasn't up anymore. It was gone entirely, and the letters of the name Hollis looked freshly carved, deeper, as if someone had scratched over them again. That's when I saw movement near the trees. A shape, human, darting between the trunks. I hit the gas and didn't look back. At this point, I was panicking. I just wanted to get off that road. The fog had thickened so much I could barely see 20 feet ahead. The car's clock flickered, 10:14 p.m., and then glitched to 10:13, then back. I drove for what felt like another 20 minutes before seeing something ahead. Headlights. Another car. I slowed down, waving my hand out the window as I approached, but the vehicle wasn't moving. It was parked on the side of the road, engine off, hazard lights blinking. I pulled up alongside it. The windows were fogged from the inside. I leaned a bit closer to see if anyone was there, and then I froze. The car was mine. Same make, same color, same university parking sticker on the windshield, even the dent on the back bumper, identical. I looked inside, and there I was. Me. Head tilted to the side like I was asleep. The headlights flickered, and then everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I was parked on a different road. A gas station sat a few yards ahead, lights humming under the fog. My phone buzzed, full bars. Time 3:47 a.m. I stumbled out and ran inside. The cashier looked startled when he saw me. "You all right?" he asked. I nodded, though my throat felt dry. Yeah, I just got lost." He frowned. "There aren't any roads out there," he said. "Just fields. Been that way for years since the highway was built." I looked out the window. Through the fog, I could just barely make out a faded green road sign near the ditch. It said, Route 42, 10 miles. Every fall, I take a week off work to get away from the city. It's something I started doing after my dad passed. He loved autumn more than anyone I knew. He'd always say that the world looks the most honest when it's dying. Last year, I decided to spend my fall trip somewhere new, a quiet part of the countryside in upstate Vermont. I'd found a small farmhouse listed on Airbnb called the Orchard House. The photo showed endless rows of apple trees, orange hills in the background, and a white porch wrapped around the front. It looked peaceful, maybe even healing. I booked it for a full week. The drive there was like something out of a postcard. Long stretches of empty road, maples burning red and gold on either side, fields already stripped for the season. But as the miles passed, the beauty began to feel heavier, lonely. By the time I reached the dirt path leading to the house, the sun was setting, low, deep orange, filtering through the trees like smoke. The orchard house looked exactly like the pictures, maybe too much like them. It was still, almost frozen in time, not a curtain shifted, not a leaf on the porch. A single light burned in the kitchen window, just enough to show that someone had been there recently. The key was where the host said it would be, tucked in a small ceramic bowl by the door. Inside, everything smelled faintly sweet. Apples, cinnamon, and something older underneath, like burnt sugar. On the kitchen counter was a handwritten note. "Welcome to the Orchard House. The trees are at their best this time of year. Please don't go out after dark. Enjoy your stay. M." That last line gave me pause. Don't go out after dark. Maybe a country thing. Coyotes, bears, whatever. Still, the phrasing didn't sit right. I brushed it off and settled in. The first day was perfect. I walked through the orchard, took photos, made coffee, read on the porch while leaves floated down around me. It felt like a reset button for my life. But that night, I woke up cold. My window was open. I didn't remember opening it. Outside, the trees swayed under a dim moonlight, and for a second, I thought I saw someone standing between the rows. A figure. Just a shadow. When I blinked, it was gone. The next morning, I noticed something strange. A basket of apples sitting on the porch steps. Bright red, polished, perfect. Too perfect, like the kind you'd see in fake fall displays. I didn't remember seeing them the night before. I figured the host might have left them. I picked one up, but the skin felt off, almost waxy. When I bit into it, the taste was wrong, bitter, metallic. I spat it out immediately. That night, I locked all the windows. The wind picked up around 11, whistling through the cracks of the old house, making the boards groan. I was drifting in and out of sleep when I heard footsteps on the porch. Slow, deliberate. Then the sound of something dragging, maybe a stick across the wooden boards. I froze, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. After a minute, the footsteps stopped. And then came 3 slow knocks on the wall just outside my bedroom. I didn't move until morning. When daylight came, I went out to the porch. The basket of apples was gone. In its place was a single apple, dark, almost black, sitting on the railing. The air had a faint, burnt smell, like charred wood. Later that day, I decided to go into town, just to be around people for a bit. I stopped at a small diner and mentioned the house to the waitress. She looked at me strangely when I said the name. "You're staying out by the old Finch orchard?" I nodded. "That place isn't supposed to be rented. The orchard burned down years ago." I told her that couldn't be right. The trees were fine. She just shook her head. "The trees you're seeing, they're dead. The fire took everything. They say, sometimes, in October, you can still smell it burning." I left the diner early and drove straight back. And as closer I got, the darker the air seemed. The smell of smoke was everywhere now. When I pulled up to the house, the orchard looked different, colorless, ashy. The apples on the ground weren't red anymore. They were black, shriveled, burnt. And in the middle of the yard stood that same basket of apples, perfectly red again. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat by the window, staring at the trees, half expecting them to start moving. At some point after midnight, I saw someone walking between them. A woman in a long dress, her hair floating like smoke. She stopped and turned toward me. Even from that distance, I swear I saw her eyes, empty white, like the sky before snow. I stepped back, heart hammering. When I looked again, she was gone. The next morning, I packed and left without cleaning up. I didn't even lock the door. As I drove down the dirt path, I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. The house was gone. Just a wide, empty orchard, blackened and cold, leaves swirling in the wind like ashes. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania called Milford. It's the kind of place that still celebrates the changing of the seasons, where kids ride bikes on cracked roads and old folks sit outside the diner talking about weather patterns like it's religion. Every October, Milford hosted the Harvest Festival. It was the biggest event of the year. Hay rides, cider, pumpkin carving, bonfires, and a haunted trail that ran through the woods near the old Miller farm. I hadn't been to one in over a decade, not since high school. But last fall, I went back. It wasn't nostalgia, exactly, more like curiosity. My mom had sold our childhood home after Dad passed, and I hadn't set foot in Melford since. But when I saw a post online about the festival, a photo of the big red barn strung with orange lights, and a caption that read, "The harvest returns October 14th," something inside me ached to see it again. So I drove down that weekend. The town looked smaller than I remembered, the trees already shedding their leaves. Everything smelled like smoke, apples, and cold air. For a second, it actually felt like coming home. The festival was already in full swing by the time I arrived. Music playing from speakers, kids in flannel chasing each other with caramel apples, and the sound of laughter echoing through the crisp air. It was perfect. Until I started noticing the faces. So many of them I didn't recognize. Not just unfamiliar, but off. Their clothes were strange, old-fashioned, like something from 50 years ago. But everyone treated them like they'd always been there. When I asked a vendor if this was a costume thing, she just gave me a blank look. "What do you mean?" Then she turned away like she hadn't heard me. I brushed it off. Maybe I was overthinking it. As night fell, the main event started, the cider walk, where everyone followed a lantern-lit trail through the orchard, stopping at little booths for drinks and stories. I joined the crowd as we entered the woods. The lanterns glowed soft and orange, and the air smelled of damp leaves and firewood. Someone ahead of me was humming, a soft, slow tune that made my skin prickle. I couldn't see their face, just a silhouette under a wide-brimmed hat. The trail wound deeper into the trees. People chatted quietly, laughing now and then, but the further we went, the quieter it got. The lights thinned out until we were walking in near darkness. And then I realized the group had stopped. The person in front of me turned around. For a second, I thought it was the guy in the hat, but when I saw his face, my blood went cold. He looked exactly like someone I went to school with, Eli Harper, but Eli had died in a car accident when I was 17. He smiled, lips dry and cracked. "You came back. We've been waiting for you." Before I could respond, the lights went out completely. People around me started whispering, but their voices sounded wrong, warped, echoing in ways that didn't match the space. I stumbled backward, heart pounding, trying to find the path, but my hand brushed against something cold, like the bark of a tree that wasn't supposed to be there. Then, the lanterns flickered back on. The crowd was gone. The path was empty, silent. No music, no laughter, just the sound of wind through dry branches. I called out, my voice shaking. No answer. When I finally reached the clearing again, the festival was still going. The lights, the music, the people, but none of them looked at me. It was like I wasn't even there. I ran to my car, parked by the road, and drove out of Melford as fast as I could. When I finally stopped for gas about 30 miles away, I looked at my phone to call someone, anyone, but there was no signal, and the date at the top of my screen said October 14th, 1998. The year I last went to the Harvest Festival? I blinked, thinking it had to be a glitch. But when I looked at my reflection in the gas station window, my hair was shorter. My clothes weren't what I'd worn that day. And faintly, beneath the smell of fuel and cold air, I could still smell apples. Rotten ones.